Hello, everyone. My name is Ataev, and I'm a sales and marketing at AxxonSoft. Thank you so much for joining our session. We're about to start in a minute. Okay. Once again, thank you very much for all the participants to join our session. On today's webinars, we would like to cover a few points and themes which are being pretty common in our industry in video surveillance. From AxxonSoft, it will be intelligent video management software and AI-based video analytics. And I would like to thank our technology partners to join our session. It's Intel, it's Seagate and Arxys. And once again, my name is Ataev. I'm sales and marketing at AxxonSoft. And I would like to ask Thomas from Intel to introduce yourself.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I am Thomas Neubert from Intel, and I work in the IOTG group, responsible for our global ISV partners leading our scale and early technology access programs. And thank you, Kate and Alan, for the invitation to talk about our product initiatives and how it enables our partners to be successful together. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Thomas. Thanks for joining. And please, Lance and Andy, please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us here. My name is Lance Blumberg, and I'm a Systems Engineering Manager here at Seagate on our Systems Division. And we'll kind of share a little bit more about what that means in terms of what we're doing here, but we appreciate the opportunity to be here to talk about our products as well. Andy?
All right, and my name is Andy Newbom from Arxys. We're here in sunny San Diego. We build video surveillance appliances and data appliances, and so we'll be talking a little bit about that and talking about, again, how you can use SANS and video surveillance and what it means for the importance of video analytics going forward.
Thank you so much, Lance and Andy, joining us today. So I will start from my part, which is our smart video surveillance, video management system, and our artificial video analytics. Nowadays, we have begun to see the widespread use of AI video surveillance. So thus it's more and more common to see the smart systems to be deployed. Today, we would like to demonstrate, well, what is possible to and what is realistic to expect from artificial intelligence video analytics, the ability to solve customer specific problems, or and also some common analytics and some custom analytics. For instance, recently our company deployed and trained around 50 neural network analytics, which is a tailor-made custom analytics for individual customers. And we will touch base on all of that. And so basically, in the neural network approach, the task to identify certain objects like human is basically delegated to a computer. On my video, you can see that on the left, we have a standard video motion detection. And on the right, we enable AI human detection. Well, to the more or less, standard analytics on the left, you see that it comes with false alarms from the trees, leaves, shadow, from from it might be there rain or snow, that kind of stuff. And on the right, we have enabled AI human detection. So what is the process to achieve that smart AI video analytics? So basically the process is called training. The neural network is provided with a large number of images of all sort of human in various environments. And then the neural network, basically the computer neural network simulates how human brain operates. And based on these facts, so as more video images you show to neural network with a human on it, and you say that to neural network, okay, this is a human. So the more accurate at the end you get your neural network analytics. So this process called training, right? So this is what we do for custom analytics or some neural network detectors which bundle with our VMS license, like human vehicle, fire, smoke, and these kind of detections. And basically, right now with our system, what we can do is to detect the human detection with this video analytics, and on the other part, we go to the more deep analytics, which we call behavioral analytics. So as you can see on the video, the system detects basically not only human, but human posture. And this human posture help us to understand that there is a human, and also, as you can see on the video, each person has so-called skeletons, which is it's segmented into separate body parts. The position of the body parts make it possible to determine a person posture, right? So, and it's using this information you can manage social distancing, like in my example at the moment, or furthermore, you can detect some abnormal behavior. In this case, we have the man down detection, or on the other hand, we have the raised arm detection. So basically, this is more advanced video analytics. So it's not only detect human, but it detects posture, human posture. And with the human posture, you can detect men down, raised arms, and social distancing as well. So that's kind of analytics that runs right away with the behavioral analytics. Okay, training as a training of neural network as a result to have their final product with their built-in video analytics is helping us to detect as well fire and smoke. So basically, the fire can be detected at an early stage, so it doesn't spread into a big wildfire or something that causes great damage. And in this particular case, the detection distance for about 20 miles. And this video shows a smoke detection notification that is actually successfully implemented, and AI helping us to analyze the video and get back to us with their certain results on fire and smoke, stuff like that. Okay, so let's move to another part of our AI video analytics. So I was mentioning about the training process and how you can achieve there some AI analytics and some detection on the video using AI analytics. And in my case right now, we have their tailor-made neural network tool, which helped to detect something specific. Well, we never had this detection before, but some construction company came to us as a client and asked for safety regulations to detect guys without a helmet. So there's a safety rules which actually they want everybody to follow with, and the detection of helmet or persons without a helmet basically was critical. So we implemented these analytics to detect helmet, and in my case, we detect the person without a helmet. So on the other hand, for the airports, using the same training process for AI analytics, we detected the person without their high visibility vest. So to get a good results on AI analytics, often it is critically important to train neural network, and it's actually significantly increased the accuracy. Like for instance, if you will take a standard neural network to detect a human, you can probably reach around 92% of accuracy. And if you would like to add more specific things, like go up to 98%, then you have to do the tailor-made custom analytics, and in that case, you have a better results with their custom trainings and stuff like that. Okay, so moving to the some other analytics which help us to recognize human faces. It's called facial recognition. We basically have real-time facial recognition, and including the smart search using the human faces, so we can add the person into the database and watch for for the match from the security camera. So the system supports basically like a positive and negative list, so you can check against that database the person and get the results of that. And pretty much the same technically, but same thing you can do with the license plate recognition. So you can detect the license plate and recognize that license plate, get a push notification, open up the garage door if their license plate number recognized, do some automations based on that recognition. Okay, so we have the artificial intelligence and the smart video analytics are built into the video management system from AxxonSoft. So on the other hand, the AxxonSoft as a VMS provider has their smart search and what I would say the smart search and what the feature called Moment Quest. So the first part was their ability to detect the person or certain objects in real time, right? And this part is related more to the smart search. Basically, Moment Quest analyzes the video and creates the metadata, and using that metadata, it's basically provide a very nice tool to search certain objects pretty fast, right in the like from your VMS interfaces. So using it, the system, it allows you to find the event of interest and retrieve a recorded footage within the seconds, basically. So on this video, we can see that some examples. At first, we specify some line crossing, let's say, and within a second, the system displayed a very convenient thumbnails on the right, which you can see of the relevant video search. And it demonstrates it actually shows all the objects which intersect that line from left to right, and you can do it within a few seconds. Well, let's say you can also do some, a specific task, and if you would like to search that area, certain zone, let's say like add the color or search for a group of people or find the guy wearing blue jacket or red car, it's absolutely possible with the system. In this case, we created the request to search for a group of people, like minimum 4, and then we got the results. And our smart search, actually, it's a great tool to save your time to your archive investigation. And how the smart search relates to AI, for instance. Nowadays, we can use AI analytics to detect certain objects. In this case, we are working on this analytics and about to release it with our next version. So this analytics helps you to do the search for, using the visual similarity. So you can tap on certain objects and search for a similar one across the multiple cameras. And on the other hand, we have a smart tool which help you to save your time during archive investigation. Basically, it's called Time Compressor, and it captures all the moving objects in the scene at different times and display them in a short video clip. And using this tool, you can review hours of recorded videos in just a minute. So, and it helps you that to dramatically reduce your time for archive investigation. And basically, the other part is there some use case that we have. It's a video management system from AxxonSoft implemented in the biggest Latin America airport, Mexico City International Airport, with 2,300 cameras, and 800 cameras comes with analytics. The analytics like time compressor, like smart search, license plate recognition, implemented with the. It's combined with some, the 3D map and this one is a time compressor and the smart search tools. They have around, as I said, 800 cameras, and they have forensic guys who actually investigate the cases 24/7. About 65 operators working with the system, real time 24/7. So this is about the AI analytics, custom analytics, smart search possibilities, and the way how we can deploy that kind of analytics. So I would love to hear some questions from you. So Kate, if you can help me out with the questions. I think we have some Q&A. We have about 5 minutes to answer them.
Yeah, we have a few questions here. What kind of requirements should a solution request to be accepted for development as a tailor-made analytics?
That's a very good question. Basically, there is a cost associated with the neural network, custom-based neural network analytics, and this is the requirements that we have. We basically need to have a video data set from the site, and means that we need to collect a few hours of our video, and based on this video, we will be able to train our neural network analytics. So the neural network training takes about a month, like from 2 weeks to 1 month, and to complete the whole process of the training.
Okay, thank you. There is another one. Will this work with any OnVIF approved camera?
Yes, very good question. Thank you. It doesn't matter what kind of camera you're going to use with AI analytics, as long as it's, the resolution of the camera is about 720p. It's good to go with our AI-based analytics. So it works with OnVIF or any other proprietary drivers as well.
So I think there's another one. Does all your core analytics are based in skeleton post-detection?
Basically, it is not, our core analytics does not based only on the skeleton behavioral analytics. So the only detectors which I've shown, like are raised arms, crouching, the man down, social distancing, is based on behavioral analytics. We also use the different stuff in our AI thing. It's including this one, behavioral analytics, the human vehicle detection analytics, and like even the well, we basically, answering your question, we are not limited only with behavioral analytics. So there's multiple other stuff which we utilize in our software for AI team.
Okay.
Okay, so thanks much for the questions. So I appreciate it, and I think that we have to start with our next session, which is basically belongs to Intel. And Thomas, if you please help me to lead this part, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alan, for the portion of your presentation. I like the visuals. That always is good to see where this is all being applicable in the marketplace. So thanks again, everybody, for taking the time joining this webcast session. For the next 10 to 15 minutes, I would like to focus a little bit more on the hardware that is available to help these use cases. I want to briefly talk about Openvino, one of our software development tools, and then closing with go-to-market solution offerings that we have available based on AxxonSoft. So if we can go into the first slide, that would be great. Great, thank you very much. So as you can see here, this is a hardware accelerator card. And AI analytics really requires a sizable computing resources. Currently, it's almost impossible to build a cost-effective AI video surveillance system without using specialized accelerators, particularly when the numbers of the channels exceed around 10 to 20 channels. So to optimize the workload and ensure that the fast operation of the AxxonSoft AI analytics, we have partnered with them to use Intel's vision accelerators, we call them, using their specialized tools with our accelerators. So as you can see in this particular example here, it's an accelerator card, and for the use case that they have benchmarked, it can handle around 65 channels for behavioral analytics. There's kind of a reference behind it here. It's 720p at 1 frames per second. So these are add-on cards that we have developed based on our Movidius VPU product family. And they are available commercially in the marketplace. They come in various forms from 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 or 4 chips on one of the cards. And they are available with mostly PCIe or M.2 interfaces. Next slide, please. So besides the hardware, and I'm coming back to the hardware in a second, but what I would like to point out a little bit to this audience is the combination of our hardware or the various products that we have available, but also the overlaying software toolkit. We call it Openvino. It's the Intel distribution of Openvino toolkit. It's a toolkit that contains a lot of individual tools. I will address that in the next slide. But the good thing with Openvino is that it is available for free to the developer community. It is also available in open source so that we ensure fast and wide adoption as quickly as we can. And most importantly, it leverages our CPU, GPU, and VPU platforms for inferencing. So Openvino, you write once your code, and then ultimately you can run your models on various platforms depending on the requirements and the use cases. Openvino is still fairly new in the marketplace. We launched it almost exactly 2 years ago. But since then, Openvino has gained 6x growth in the developer community. We have around 50 plus market-ready solutions. I will explain in a second what exactly that is. And we have around 100 plus partners taking Openvino into productions. And we also last year won the Vision Product Award for this particular toolkit. So all in all, good tractions, very interesting toolkit. And the biggest takeaway, I would say, the most important one is if you port Openvino, or if a developer ports Openvino or uses Openvino to port the modules onto the hardware, you have to do it once, and then you can port it on multiple platforms and taking advantage of it. So if you look at this particular slide on the right hand, on the left hand, you can see the kind of platforms that we support, our CPUs, our GPUs, and then ultimately our vision accelerators that are primarily targeting the edge AI use cases in the market. And AxxonSoft successfully ported their modules on the accelerators using Openvino, and also taking advantage of CPU platforms that we have to offer, where you may or may not even need an accelerator card to add in the first place. Next slide, please. So just a quick note, if you haven't heard about what Openvino is in detail, Openvino is a toolkit that contains many useful tools for a partner like AxxonSoft to customize their models onto the Intel platform. And you can start with using whatever frameworks are available in the marketplace. We are supporting all of them. And after you train the models, you can build, and then you optimize with Openvino the models on the platforms. And then automatically with the plugins that we have built in within Openvino, you can then deploy on various Intel hardware platforms. And it's almost all seamlessly. You can individually target the platforms from, for inferencing. Either you target it on the CPUs or CPUs plus the GPU or just VPU. It all depends on the utilization that you would like to target the models to run on. Now, in addition to the accelerators, we also have something which we call DL Boost or VNNI, and it's pretty much taking the models and bringing it down to an int8 format. And our marketing term for that feature for the acceleration is DL Boost VNNI. It's an incredible performance boost that we will allow to run on our Xeon family, previously known as a Cascade Lake, if some of you are familiar with that. And particularly on the Xeon, on the server, we have incredible performance increases, which I will actually show in the next slide. So if we can, I think we have to go into the details. The target market here probably in this session are more for the end users and system integrators. But for the developers on this call, please go on Intel's website. There is plenty of information available for the developer community, how to use Openvino. It has a huge amount of samples available. We have Open Model Zoo, and again, it's also available as open source. So with that, if you go to the next slide. So here, just to summarize in a little bit more detail, the computes that we are supporting, depending on the workload, depending on the price ranges, and particularly if you look at the return on the investment and you look at the price performance per watts, that there are multiple versions of offerings that we have. So if you have something that requires high performance in a server environment, obviously I mentioned Xeon with taking advantage of DL Boost, but primarily around the edge AI use cases where we are heavily focusing on with the Intel Movidius VPU family. At the moment, we have our second generation that AxxonSoft is taking advantage of. And AxxonSoft also has a very close partnership with us and are working already closely on our next generation as part of the early access program. So AxxonSoft is one of the key hand-selected partners that we are pleased to do this together with. So in general, you can see an overview of the kind of CPUs that is supported by Openvino and also the Movidius on primarily edge devices. So with that, if we go to the next slide, I want to give you some ideas what I'm talking about when I talk about performance increases. Now this slide is a little bit outdated because at the moment we are already in 2020 and we have made so much progress with the Openvino toolkit that at the moment we are already on version 2020.3. But this particular slide was created as part of our Xeon product launch by the end of last year, I should say. And it brings home some very interesting viewpoints about acceleration that we have built into our hardware platform. So in general, you know, scalability doesn't really just require scalable compute. It also requires software architecture that provides the seamless performance increase. So we are invested very heavily in Openvino, and we have done even more focuses on the commercialization of Openvino in 2020 and going forward. But if you look at this particular slide on the far left, you can see that in 2018 with R1, if you take Openvino and you run it on the first generation of Intel Xeons, the software, again, it's a free software that you could then use for inferencing on top of the Xeon, gave you an additional 1x performance increase. Now, in only a few months, in 1 quarter actually, sorry, take that back, actually within the first year, we then had matured Openvino running on the exact same hardware platform with the release version 1 for 19. And we actually more than doubled the performance increase just by using the latest version of Openvino, but still using the existing hardware. So for people, for customers who actually have used and purchased the Xeon at that time, with just applying the Openvino version, we doubled for free the performance. Now, the big boost, the big message on this particular slide is when we then took the same similar version of Openvino late in 19, we then built in this int8 DL boost feature into our Xeon family, which is available today. And as you can see with that particular implementation within our Xeon family, you literally got a performance increase of 25x, and that is pretty substantial. And we are improving this more and more on the Xeon family. There will be very nice additional features with the next generation, the follow-up generation towards the end of this year. But as for the edge devices around the Movidius, we constantly on a quarterly basis releasing the latest version of Openvino, providing additional performance increases just by pure software enhancements, and also increasing the amount of modules available and the tools that are built into Openvino. Next slide, please. So if you look at the hardware, I talked about the card itself, the Vision Accelerator cards. They come in multiple flavors as an add-on to the Intel architecture platform that we have available. Then you apply Openvino, you write once, you deploy on all of them going forward. But then ultimately, what's really important is to provide a ready end-to-end solution to our customers. And that's where the partnership really comes to fruition between our ISVs, in this case, AxxonSoft and Intel. So we take all the elements, we take all the customization, and then together with our partners, we are building something that we call the RFP kits, the RFP ready kits. They are available to our partners, and we are promoting them through Intel's sales channels to either via our internet. All of our salespeople have the right tools in regards to marketing pamphlets and use cases, case studies, and all of that to have really good conversations with our end customers that we then bring in front of a partner like AxxonSoft together with system integrators and channel partners to help them throughout the sales process. So these particular RRK kits, they have a huge advantage. They are very much tailored to a solution offering, and we are thereby streamlining the solution bundle process. So you really can go through a catalog of RRKs per partner And then based on the use cases that we have built, you can just simply pick that particular end-to-end system and then ship it out to a customer or propose it to a customer for evaluation. So it is built as a complete IT solution, available very easily and can also be customized if needed. It absolutely streamlines and improves the purchasing process downstream. And then at the same time, it also meets the customer needs for deploying the solutions going forward, because it will always be updated with the latest versions of either Openvino or the next generation of Movideo's next generation accelerators. So all in all, the process will end up to be an end-to-end solution offered to our channel partners and makes it easier to position and identify ready-to-go use cases based on our ISV's software partner solution, in this case, AxxonSoft. So the examples that you saw earlier with all these videos and the various use cases, these can all be built with very specific hardware configurations, again, based on the individual performance requirements, being it video channels, being it different resolutions and frame rates or accuracy. Each of them could actually turn into an end-to-end solutions that we can not only build together with AxxonSoft, but then we also pre-validating it in internal labs so that it can be ready to ship out to customers for evaluation. I think with that, that is the last slide, and I'd like to give it back to Alan.
Thank you so much, Thomas. I appreciate it very much. And I would like to add that the neural network acceleration cards has been successfully deployed on multiple sites already. And we see a great benefit of using that kind of acceleration solutions with our AI analytics. And thanks again for taking your time to actually explain about their Openvino and all the hardware acceleration possibilities and integration with AxxonSoft. Thank you so much. Okay, so please, if you have any questions, you can continue to ask in Q&A, and we'll get back to you live or address your questions on our webinar. Saying that, okay, there is a, let's move to our next part, which belongs to Seagate and Arxys. And I invite Lance and Andy to take over. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everybody. So my name is Andy Newbom from Arxys.
And this is Lance Blumberg with Seagate.
All right. So next slide. So today we're going to take a slight zig to the side here and talk more about basically the back end and systems. Not as much detail as Thomas went into on the Intel CPU side, but basically more about kind of architecture and networks, and both from the appliance side as well as the in this case video surveillance into a storage area network. And as you start getting more video, you got to think more about how do you manage it, how do you store it, how do you record it, and all that kind of stuff. So we'll kind of jump in. So next slide. All right, so you got to do the quick who are we. So Arxys, we basically build video surveillance and data appliances, been doing it for 27 years. So I would say either we're super smart or super lucky, and we try to prefer the first one. So.
And certainly from a Seagate perspective, a lot of you may be very familiar with us from being 40 years in the business doing disk drives. And we actually have a broader portfolio, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, so it's a next slide. So you got to have a little bit of the, ubiquitous video surveillance is growing, but some interesting things is not only are, of course, camera counts are growing, but also resolution is growing dramatically. 2 megapixel and above. A IPVM just did a survey of integrators in North America last 2 or 3 weeks, and they found that in 2020, I think it was about 54% of all cameras sold in 2020 so far by the survey results were 4 megapixel and up. So it's growing resolution-wise pretty fast, and then you're having much more, of course, cameras per system. So it's not just new installs, but larger installs, and that's obviously growing quite a bit of total resolution, total storage, total retention. So next slide. So in addition to more cameras and more systems, you're just having a lot more retention. So I don't know if everyone on the call has seen this, but certainly from our side as a hardware vendor, the times even just in the last 6 months where we've gotten a request for less than 30 days of retention is almost zero. It's been increasingly smaller, and we're seeing much more 60-day, 90-day, year-long retention. The more intelligent you make your video, the more analytics you do, the more you want to keep it. So if you delete the video, it's harder to use it for different purposes besides just security. So let's jump next slide. And fundamentally, all of those slides were basically to talk about why is video surveillance growing, and why is video intelligence and video analytics growing. Fundamentally, it's in our view, it's not about video surveillance as solely a physical security type aspect. It's very much about operational intelligence, whether it's a company, whether it's a prison detention center, which we do a lot of. There's a lot of analytics that people are looking to do to basically make their operations more intelligent instead of just, was there a problem? It's all about solving problems ahead of time or stopping them. So what all this kind of comes together is that video surveillance in general is moving from the I guess we have to have it to maybe we better think about protecting it and storing it and running it and put a lot more value on it. So we're seeing a huge increase in just the value applied to video itself, which is a lot of it's driven from that kind of operational intelligence type perspective. So and that's it. So next slide. So what the things we'll be talking about today now are basically, you have sort of 3 key areas in this. You have AxxonSoft, which basically does the smart forensic search and the video analytics, and they went through all the kind of processes and how they do that. They have quite a wide range. We've worked with them for about 1.5 years now on quite a few systems. So and then you have the Intel system basically on the chip side and on their VPU side, kind of accelerating things, which is what we accelerate as well. And then we're going to talk about Seagate. So Lance, little intro.
Yeah. So obviously, as I mentioned earlier, with our device portfolio, people are very familiar and integrating those into their various VMS, NVR recorders, et cetera. But we also have now complete systems as part of our portfolio that traditionally have been sold via OEM customers. So you may have seen some of our products out there. We're now making our system products available to other partners, such as Arxys in the video surveillance world, for these customers that kind of meet the use cases Andy's going to talk about, that need a more storage, ensure it's protected, and that's where our enterprise SAN systems come into play.
Yep. So the wide range of hard drives down to all the way up to systems. Arxys, what we do is we build appliances and purpose-built for video. So we use the enterprise hard drives and SSDs, and we use the hardware accelerated analytics from Intel. So we kind of combine those 2 things together to build what we think are pretty cool appliances, and it seems to be kind of hitting the market pretty well. So next slide. And Lance, do your thing. So again, this is kind of just touching on what I just mentioned, but obviously, again, if we look at our devices, our Skyhawk AI drives, we're getting a lot of press and
exposure out there in the market on those, so you may be familiar with them, up to our enterprise, not only HDDs, but SSDs. And then the newer part that you may not be familiar with is the Seagate SAN systems as well. So we are in the systems business. We actually sell quite a few through various OEMs, and now we're able to bring those to market for customers that are looking for a larger storage platform. So be thinking about, hey, I'm looking at individual disk drives that can go up to 14, 16 terabytes. And then if you start thinking of Seagate systems, those are for the customers that are going to start scaling up into the petabyte range. So that's where those products start to play. Next slide.
Yeah. And so you got to have the what do we do slide. So what on this one, we build video X appliances. We have a line that's basically kind of pre-built and preloaded and optimized for AxxonSoft VMS. We've done quite a bit of testing and configurations with them. We've got a lot of them deployed. But what's interesting about the approach is, thinking in terms of an appliance. You sort of have this sort of NVRE type DVR concept, but that's quickly becoming much more critical. So you have this obviously got to ingest video, and then what we do is do video accelerated VMD. So pretty much all of the super cool sexy video analytics that you see are predicated and built upon the super unsexy super uncool foundation of video motion detection, or basically pixel change from keyframes. So we do that all in hardware using the Intel QuickSync GPUs, which are integrated in the CPUs, so we don't have to mess with bus speeds and all that kind of stuff, as well as we can take advantage of the Movidius and the NVIDIA GPUs. Using the enterprise Seagate hard drives and SSDs, we've got all that protection, and then we can do encryption, AES, SE, all that kind of great stuff. So good appliances that run AxxonSoft and run them well. So next slide.
So what is a SAN? I think it's important, just a quick level set there. Many of you may be familiar with it, but obviously the acronym stands for Storage Air Network. And this is a network that's typically separate from a customer's normal communication IP network that really just allows multiple servers to share the same physical storage. So the big two protocols that you see out there are iSCSI, and that leverages existing Ethernet infrastructure, or fiber channel.
Next slide.
Fiber channel.
This one didn't build, so there you go.
Oh, there we go. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so really one of the things that when we talk about the SAN devices, it's certainly not near as sexy as the AI intelligence slides that you were seeing earlier, where you see all the great things they're doing with recognizing movement, et cetera. But one of the big things that's important is having high storage capacity amounts, making sure they're highly available. So those are very common characteristics. If we're going to have over a petabyte of video surveillance storage, you want to make sure it's highly protected. Data protection layer could be RAID 5, 6, 10, some erasure encoding that Seagate does, but also make sure that's highly available and secure. And that's really what people are looking for, is to make sure whatever that backend storage is, it's got to be highly reliable, make sure my data is protected, and hopefully done at a very good cost point for the capacity that you need for these large infrastructures. Next slide.
All right, so this will be the kind of quick, fast one, but storage area networks are networked storage. So our video appliances can run with both internal storage or network storage, or a combination of both. AxxonSoft has some great features to take advantage of all that. So why network storage? And fundamentally, you're just getting the advantages of separate networks. So you can share it, you can scale it. Once you get to a certain size, then that network storage becomes a lot lower TCO. It's easier to manage. And you get a lot more benefits. So next slide. Along those lines, once you network your storage, just like any kind of network, you get a little bit more protection, definitely better management, and you can add a lot of high availability features. And again, these, the reason we're bringing this information up is that once your video surveillance network goes from slip and fall, someone fell 2 minutes ago, or trying to get through the door to, what happened over the last 6 months. Show me some heat maps, go reanalyze recorded video for a bunch of new information that you didn't even know was there, license plates or people movements. Then you want to keep it. It's got to be fast, got to be protected. And so, you got to make sure you think from the front client use all the way back to the end of the system. So next slide. And this is basically just talking about the general kind of architecture of a SAN, right? So fundamentally, storage area network is a network, and as we all know, networks are magic. So you get your camera network, and everything basically connects together. In this case, generally you're talking iSCSI, but it could also be fiber channel. So any inputs on here, Lance?
No, I think you've got it. Obviously, from a Seagate perspective, we do offer both of those protocols. So depending on what you're trying to do from a back-end storage perspective, we can plug into either iSCSI or fiber channel. And again, our scalabilities, we can start getting up into the petabyte range. So be thinking of that as Andy's talking about these retentions and camera counts, et cetera, really drives a lot of back-end storage.
Yeah, and so it's, again, think about it, it's a network. So networks are great, and putting your storage and your recording and processing and your cameras all on networks gives you that entire magic of what networks do. So next slide. So here's the kind of where we see it kind of come together. So if you have a system of cameras, you want to add more cameras, then basically you get that next camera. You might have to click next, and you can add cameras, and then as you add cameras, you can there you go. Add cameras, add appliances recording. You can add the storage. If you want to add additional cameras, you can add more appliances for processing or analytics and add more storage. And fundamentally what you build is, instead of building, a monolithic structure, you basically can scale cameras, you can scale servers, recorders, appliances, and analytics, and you can scale storage separately. So, that is the benefit of networking storage and storage area networks. iSCSI is fantastic because of utilizing your existing, Ethernet network infrastructure. There's pros and cons for fiber channel. I did fiber channel since the 90s. So, but, Ethernet is obviously everywhere. So, you can use 1 gig, you can use 10 gig. There's, it's a lot of flexibility. So, Lance, you want to kind of throw in some extra information on this slide?
Yeah, just, certainly as Andy indicated, iSCSI is probably very predominant. It certainly allows customers, particularly that are already familiar with IP networks, to leverage that staff, leverage that infrastructure. So my personal experience in video surveillance, that's probably the most predominant. Certainly as Andy indicated, fiber channel, where when Andy and I were working on it, 20 years ago, a lot of interoperability maturity issues, but it is very stable now. But I would say, certainly in this market, see a lot more interest in the iSCSI. It really allows people to not necessarily have to have a separate infrastructure, separate knowledge from their admins, et cetera, to run it. They can leverage the people that are trained on IP networks. And so it's really about understanding what is your infrastructure, what knowledge and expertise do you have, and then pick the protocol that makes sense for you.
Yeah, so like I said, that's the, kind of towards the end here, basically just trying to make sure we could bring up the high level information on the SANs. If you have any questions, jump in. I've tried to answer a few while we were talking, where our other team did too. Also, at the end of this, we'll send everybody we have an application note that's basically goes through kind of, how do you know if your video surveillance environment is, good for a storage area network, and kind of walk through the 3 key ones that we only identified one of them here, but we have 2 others that we think are really good for it as well. So any other questions? And I know one of the questions that we answered, it was in text, was, obviously iSCSI or fiber channel. So just re-answer that one again. The SAN systems, all the ones on the slides, can be iSCSI or fiber channel. Fundamentally, it's immaterial to the storage and transport, and certainly it's transparent to the VMS. And then the same thing on our side. We tend to be, iSCSI just because it's so much more affordable and simple. But we've done a lot of fiber channel ones as well. So, but in general, if you're thinking you got a camera network and you got a server network and you got a storage network, keeping them all on Ethernet is generally a little more straightforward and easy. So. Any other questions? Ours wasn't quite as flashy.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it, Andy. Basically, we got answered about 19 questions live, so please keep it up. We love questions, and we will definitely email you all the answers and recorded video of that presentation. Thank you so much once again for everybody who participated in that webinar. We appreciate it, and we'll try to keep it up with these kind of sessions on a quarterly basis, and you probably hear from us anytime soon. Once again, thank you, and have a great day ahead. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.